Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Today we are going to do a little tier list. So I thought to myself, how could I do the tier list in the best way possible? Because it's kind of hard to do a tier list in this game since you have separate layouts for separate usages, like for farming, for items, for pushing. So therefore we will do two tier lists today. One is being farming, and farming will include EXP, gold, and item drops. I thought maybe I should do an item drop extra, but I will just give certain arguments about certain heroes and why I would use them, considering items as well as EXP and gold for the farming part. And then there will be a pushing at the second part of this video. So simply that we have that cleared out right off the way, because as mentioned before, it's quite hard to do a tier list in this game, simply because it's really hard to just go flat by stats or possibilities. Okay, so basically we got only the triple S and the EX, and I only put in the double S gold, the S gold, and the S EXP. You might be wondering why I didn't put the double S EXP in here. I could have done it, but it's simply the S and the double S is, in my opinion, the same tier, so I thought I'll just stick with him because it's the same guy, it's Ezreal. As I can also show you here, the double S one is the exact same, it's just called Ramiel, it's basically his brother or something, I don't know. But therefore I just put him solo because it's the same picture, so I thought, yeah, whatever. So yeah, we will start with farming. So, considering farming, what do we need to have a consistent farm? As you can see on my screen right now, if I would put out auto here and don't use any skills, as you can see, I'm able to one-shot everything. So this is what we're looking for. We look for a setup that is without using any spells or skills or whatever, giving us a good output of EXP, gold, and drops, as well as being able to one-shot the stage we are clearing. So let's go ahead. For more like early game desire, I would say, you kinda wanna consider the gold tier on the S tier, but she gets really weak later on, so you might wanna put her on the C tier. She's great, don't get me wrong, but she's really just like you won't really use her in late game, to be honest. First of all, she's only giving gold, and as far as we know already, you get your gold by the tower. You don't get your gold by just farming. Or, I mean, you get some gold, but it's like, compared to the gold from the tower, it's literally nothing. So therefore we put it on C tier, because it's just in late game, there's not much use to it. Then go over to Ezreal and Ramiel. I'll put those in the B tier. More or less for the same reason as her. You will use them though for a longer time, because their EXP boost is great, and even though, like now, as far as I know, I'm not 100% sure, but I think people, yeah, at least Ramiel is still used in the top tiers as well, but not on everyone, as you can see. But yeah, so you will use it quite late still, but also what I figured is just, in my opinion at least, that he gets a little bit too weak. I mean, the double S Ramiel one is okay-ish, but still damage wise you lose quite a ton, simply for like losing 2 stages just to get 300% EXP boost, when you get a ton of EXP boost anyway without having him in your comp. So, like, both of them. So I don't feel like in the long run, like, yeah, maybe now still people using them, but I think like once people hit like 2500 levels ish, or even higher, people will stop using him, because you get EXP bonus by totems, you get it by, I believe, trash as well, but I'm not sure. But like sigils, you get it, and so on, you know? You get what I mean. So basically it doesn't really feel worth to use him like super long term, or like both of them. For him, he's also gold. His name is Embler. So for Embler, I will put him in C tier, but higher than her, obviously because of the damage boost. But simple reason again, it's like he's a good unit, don't get me wrong, especially because he gives you a buff for super crit rate, what's really great. But the only time you really wanna get this buff, like the super crit buff, is when you're pushing. And when you're pushing, you won't use a double S hero like him to push, because you don't care about the cold drops while pushing, you know. Hope that makes sense. So that's why I put him in C tier still, because gold, as you know, we don't get it really from farming. Farming is just a nice extra, but really you wanna push the tower to get your gold high up. Farming is mainly really to be focused on EXP and item drops. Gold is still included because, especially in early game, those two characters will help you a ton to get a good amount of good stats and also finish off your quest. They would be about here. So yeah, therefore I'll put them in the C tier for now. So let's move on from to the triple S units. Here, if we consider farming, I would need to go right away and say, okay, or disconnect. Stuff like Gondul with like reduced skill cooldown is literally F tier. Same goes for like boss damage buffs, or she has skill damage buffs. Like all those things, you can literally put them right here. So you can see here, boss damage buff. But yeah, the other ones are you could consider for using to farm. Now it really depends on what usage you want. You have, for example, attack speed on Geronul, and attack speed is great to have, especially if you want to go for fast item farms. But it really depends on your current state in the game. Because as you can see, for example, right now I don't have the Brunhilde skills, so these are my stats without the Brunhilde skills. And as you can see, my attack speed is about 384, so I'm not kept on the 500, and so am I not with the movement speed. So therefore, if I really just want to go for straight up farming item drops, I could definitely use her. Though she is still not really that good, and also in the late game you will definitely hit the point where you will be at least really close to the 500%, so therefore I will put her in the B tier as well, but a little bit higher than Remiel and Ezreal. And exact same thing goes for her. It really doesn't matter, they share the same place, like it doesn't really matter which one I put higher, it's pretty much the same. I use her right now as well, she's Eerie. I use her right now for the movement speed buff, and simply because I go mainly for item farms right now, for the vault tickets, because I stack them a lot. But I won't show you the tab and how much I got right now, because that's for another video. So yeah, moving on. Halok is an EXP hero, and she's great. You will use her a long time, and that's why I also put her in A tier, because she gives you an 800% increase on EXP, and that's great. But also she gives you a buff for hyper crit. So she's just overall a really great unit, and especially if you're talking like really late game, like when you have 100% crit rate and 100% super crit rate without using too many companions, you could definitely consider taking her for EXP farming, simply to push your hyper crit to 100% and therefore go to higher stages for farming and even get more out of your combo that way. So yeah, she's definitely an A tier, and also a really high A tier one, because you will go a long way with her luck. So she's definitely something you should consider to max out as fast as possible. Pretty much the same goes for the gold drop one. The name is Lat, but Lat is even to put higher than Harlock, because Lat is literally, you will never ever, at least as of right now, of the characters we know, you will never ever not use her. If you consider just straight up gold farming, you know, because 800% gold increase is just insane. I mean, yeah, she gives you attack buff, but like the buff doesn't matter. It's not consistent, and for farming you really want consistency. So the buff is nice, I guess, to have, but it doesn't really give you anything because you one-shot everything anyway on the stages you farm. But I just put her on the higher stage because I believe in like super late game, and this is like really far off when you really don't care about the XP too much anymore, and really they put out new attributes and stuff. This is really only my opinion. As of right now, Harlock is definitely better, but if I try to see the future, I can see that Lat goes a longer way than Harlock does. Moving on to our crit champions. What do I mean by that? Is simply we have a normal crit increase on her, and when it comes to farming, I would put her on B tier, but I would put her in the first place here. Simply because she pushes your crit rate for 30%, and that's huge, especially in the early game, because it is really hard to get to the 100% crit chance at the beginning, especially if you don't have any crit bonus costumes like the new 20k Saphir one. It's just really hard to get to the 100%, but with her it's fairly easy, and therefore you will also use her really early, but also a long way in the mid game. And yeah, while she's like in the late game, she will fall off because at some point you will have the 100% crit rate, and therefore she will not be used anymore. Because for the skill damage, as mentioned before, you don't go for damage pushes to go higher stages, you go for consistency when you think about farming, and therefore in the late game she will not be used at all anymore. But for early and mid game she's a really great pick overall in my opinion, and therefore I put her in the first place in B tier, because also for movement speed and attack speed I think, yeah, they're great to have, for especially for item drops, but at the same time they will just fall off in the late game once we have enough stats from everywhere else anyway. So moving on to our last character, and she's also B tier, but also on the last spot. That is simply because she gives you super crit rate and skill damage. Again, skill damage, we don't care about that. Super crit. Why do I put super crit lower than the crit rate per se? The thing is, you get only 20% of the super crit, not 30 on the crit rate. So Creo is, she has kind of this issue, like, yeah, super crit, like having super crit is really nice and stuff, but do you really want to give up on certain like XP stats or on extra gold or other things like movement speed or attack speed, for example, if you're not capped? Do you really want to give that up just to maybe get to 80 or 90% in your super crit rate? I mean, yeah, you can get probably 69% super crit, but then again, can you only one-shot everything if it's a super crit, or can you one-shot it still if it's a normal crit? Because if you can still one-shot it, there's no reason to do the super crit, you know? And if you cannot one-shot it with a normal crit, but only with the super crit, then it's not consistent, because you might lose a little bit of time here and there. And yeah, it's arguably, if you just want to go flat for XP, arguably you could do that instead of, if you don't want to consider items, but you really want those wall tickets. So therefore I put her on the last spot on B tier. Probably she will be more usable in the later game, like mid to end game, somewhere between that. But I just don't see it, because I think at a certain point you will have too much super crit anyway already before she gets really usable, like the sets being better than what else you could get, you know. I think she will just get outrun, but that's just for farming at least. Moving on to our EX heroes, and here I have to say thanks to Akuma, because I didn't have all the EX characters, so he went ahead and sent me a screenshot of the other ones, so that I can have lightened up screenshots of every character for this tier list. So thanks Akuma for that, really great of you, appreciate it a lot. So let's go ahead, let's go to Harrier first. Basically, if we purely talk about farming, really Harrier is fucking D tier. There's no usage for her at all in farming. You don't care about boss damage because you wanna go stages where you one-shot everything anyway. So there's really no point in taking Harrier in your team comp if you're looking for farming, okay? So moving on to Hellbell. Hellbell, same thing, skill damage, you don't care. You don't care about skills, you want consistency, nothing fancy with your skills. Therefore, again, D tier. The reason I don't put them in F tier, by the way, is simply because they have high attack power, so therefore they're still better than the triple S tiers. But really for farming, there's just no usage for them. Besides, if you really have a slot open still because you don't have all the characters and you just wanna go straight for damage, but I doubt you don't have all the triple S but the EX, because if you do, then you should go ahead and watch my beginner's guide, please, because you really missed out on things. You should definitely not have the EX unless you have a certain level on your triple S. Moving on from Hellbell to Baldur. So Baldur, in my opinion, is by far the best EX you could possibly get in this game. By far, because she's insane good in early game, insane good in mid game, and will be insane good in late game as well. Simply because she gives you 20% item drop increase. And this is so freaking huge. Like, imagine you get about, let's say, 10 tickets per hour, world tickets per hour, okay? But she makes it 12 tickets instead. And that doesn't sound a lot, but keep in mind, once you hit a certain level in the vault, one ticket is equivalent to about 1000 gems, as well as totems and other items, okay? So, if one ticket is 1000 gems, and she gives you basically 2 tickets more, that's basically 2000 gems extra per hour farming, okay? And that in the course of a day is basically nearly 50k more gems, and that's only if it was 10 tickets. It's more, but still, you know. Therefore, yeah, she's insanely great EX, and in my opinion the best you can get when it comes to farming. Moving on to Sid. I mean, it gives you hyper crit, and let me turn this music a little bit smaller because it's really annoyingly loud actually. I hope it's not too loud for you guys. So Sid is interesting because Sid for farming, I don't see her valuable for farming whatsoever. But the interesting thing is, considering her being an EX and considering her being like really late game, I don't even put her in the D tier. I actually put her in the B tier, but like really low. Simply because I can see myself using her when I hit like 100% crit chance, 100% super crit, and 80% or like 81% hyper crit. I could see myself actually using her because she will give me a ton of like straight up attack companion percentage, and also give me like the 100% hyper crit, and therefore I would be able to probably push like 5 or 6 stages even higher than I would be before if I just can rely on my super crit for the consistency. So therefore, yeah, in like super late game, I see cases where you might use her for farming, but overall she's just not a farming character. But I see her having more usage than the double S and S tier gold and XP heroes. Gold heroes, sorry, not XP. Yeah, moving on to Acer. Acer is a great hero, but not great enough to put her in the S tier. Simply because gold, again, you really get gold out of the tower mainly. The gold you farm, meanwhile, is really just a little bit of an extra, but it's nothing to rely on really. So therefore, for me, she's an A tier. She's a solid A tier. You can always put her in your comp. It's always nice to have a good gold buff in your team. But besides of that and her high attack, there's no point in putting her in. But she's a farming character, don't get me wrong. So she's really good to use. So moving on to the 3 characters I don't have. Sorry. Winning life, basically same goes for her as for Sid. Doesn't matter where I put her, basically it's the same. I can see myself using her for the hyper crit, and it really would just depend on which one I would have on a higher stage at that point when I really have the time where I use them. But yeah, there can be cases in the like late game, but they're really like, it's like a small fraction of a case where that can appear. And if it appears, it will be for like 1 or 2 weeks at max, and then you will swap it out because you will have the hypergrid anyway. So yeah. Moving on to Aegir. Aegir reduced champion skill cooldown, and she is down there with the others on the D tier because again, we don't care about the skills when we talk about consistency. Sure, it's nice for a little bit of a speed up because you get the Brunhild skill a little bit fast and stuff. But realistically, that's not even the case once you hit your movement speed and attack speed to 500 anyway. Because if you can choose between 50% more movement speed overall or using the skill like 5 seconds with 5 seconds less cooldown on the Brunhild skill, then there's just really no point in not getting the 50% movement speed overall, you know. Sorry, I'm still a little bit ill. Moving on. And here we have Skadi, and Skadi is the second one I would place in the S tier for farming, because simply the experience will get a long way. And yeah, I mentioned before that I think EXP will not be the most important in the like Giga Super something late game. Don't get me wrong, I think level will always be important. It's an idle game at the end of the day. Levels will always be important, but like in terms of companions, I feel like you might actually at some point don't go for XP companions. But overall, as of right now, Skadi, in my opinion, is the second best you could get out of all the other EX ones. Simply because she goes an insane long way. It has the most use case. And the reason I put the gold one because in A tier instead of S tier, because they both have kind of the same argument, is simply because if you again go to the tower as of right now, you really just get your gold in here, you know. And there is a lot of tower stages, and they update the tower consistently, so you won't run out of gold from the tower, you know. And XP is something, it's not limited, it doesn't run away from you, but as slower as you get the XP, as faster other players will get higher than you know. So you really gotta catch up with the XP a ton if you wanna play on their high fields in the top ranking lists. So therefore I put her in the S tier and above the gold one, for that matter. So yeah, that's about it for my tier list for the farming segment. There will be a second video out soon where we will talk about a tier list about pushing and what's like really raw power setup. But I thought I will do the farming one first, simply because I think it's more important, because you will be most likely farm 98% of the game only, and 2% is basically you pushing or squeeze out the one or other stage more. So therefore I thought it's more interesting to see probably what my opinion is on the farming segment. If you like this video, if you like the idea of me giving you my opinion on like which companions to use for which case, let me know in the comments. If you have any other ideas for videos, let me know as well. Someone wrote me today on Discord and asked for a tier list actually, and I was considering a tier list to do a tier list before already. So I thought, since someone asked as well, yeah, why not just do it right now, you know, since I had time and I was like thinking about a new video anyway. So yeah, here we go. We have it, and yeah, if you have any ideas, please let me know. I'm really happy to make it come true. And if you have any questions as well, just look in the comments. And also we have a Discord server, community Discord server. Consider joining it. It's a really nice community. There's a lot of really good active players, ranging from the top 5 players down to anyone basically. We have so many people on the server already, and we really would like this community to grow even more, so consider joining us. I will put the link down in the description, and yeah, it's all about it. See ya.